Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be testing some more viral TikTok drugstore dupes. So we have our high-end side and our drugstore side. We've got a ton of dupes to go over. It's going to be a full face, so we'll just get right into it. So this has been regarded as a dupe multiple times. I've actually never tried them side by side, so I think this would be a good one to test out. The Maybelline 4-in-1 Perfector and then the Charlotte Tilbury Hollywood Flawless Filter. Obviously everybody wants to dupe Charlotte products. I feel like the Charlotte products are really the moment, and a lot of these dupes that I ended up finding are supposed to be really similar to Charlotte products. We're gonna do Hollywood Flawless Filter on this side. I'm gonna do two separate sponges this time. The last time I was using the same brushes, and I was wondering, could that maybe affect the way that the products go on? So we're gonna have the high-end sponge and then the drugstore sponge. So this will be our high-end side, this will be our drugstore side. We will do the Maybelline 4-in-1 Perfector. This one I don't have like a perfect match in. I just mix two shades together. This is Fair Light, and then this one is Medium, and then the Charlotte one I'm using is shade number 3. So I'll just go back and forth on the back of my hand until I get something pretty similar. That looks about good. So we'll put this on. I'll definitely say the Maybelline undertones specifically are like a little bit more pinky, so I can tell a difference. Like it's a little bit more beige, if you will, versus like kind of like a nice warm toned illuminator. And I definitely can tell a difference right away. So the Charlotte one has a lot more noticeable strobe, and it just kind of makes my skin look a little bit softer and filtered, and I like the appearance of the Charlotte one better. On my skin at least, they're definitely not. I feel like you can even just tell the Charlotte side, it just has this really great glow, and it's just so much prettier in my opinion. So Maybelline, Charlotte. This is another dupe that shocked me. So we have the Giorgio Armani Luminous Silk Foundation, aka my favorite foundation of all time, duped by the L'Oreal True Match Nude Serum Foundation. A lot of people on TikTok were saying that this was a dupe, so I was like, we have to try them side by side. So we're gonna do the Armani side first. This is a foundation where, no exaggeration, the first time I used it, I really fell in love with it. I just think it's such a beautiful foundation, and it always performs really consistently on my skin, regardless of the season. It's just always been such a good one. I always repurchase it. I use it up consistently. It's just my absolute favorite. It's so natural, but also quite customizable in that you can really get like a sheer nice natural effect for every day, or you can really build it up and get a really stunning flawless effect as well. Okay. So now we're gonna do L'Oreal True Match Nude. I'm mixing two shades of this product because I don't have an exact match in this line. So we're gonna do like a light shade and a darker shade. Common theme here. It's really hard to match my skin tone. We're gonna use our drugstore sponge, again, just so that we don't mix products throughout the application process. So this one's definitely going on a lot more sheer. I'm gonna try applying it, like I'm just picking up more and more off the back of my hand, and I'm gonna build it up where I need a little bit of extra coverage. I think when you build it up, you get a similar effect. I definitely think you get a really similar effect. So here's the Armani side, here's the L'Oreal side. I don't necessarily think it's a full-on dupe, but I definitely think that they give you very comparable finishes. The Armani one just looks a little bit more flawless in my opinion, while still looking, you know, nice and natural. But I do really love this L'Oreal product as well, and I think that the effect is definitely similar. Another one of my personal favorites, the NARS Radiant Creamy Concealer, was supposed to be duped by the L'Oreal Age Perfect Concealer. Now, I like this concealer as well, but I've never tried it side by side with the NARS, so I am eager to see if this ends up being a dupe. So we'll do the L'Oreal Age Perfect. This one is in the shade Honey Rose. So I'm gonna do the L'Oreal one. This one is considerably more lightweight than the NARS one. Like it has a little bit more of a kind of like fluid formula, I would say. And to me, the L'Oreal concealer, this Age Perfect one, the formula reminds me of something that you would get in like a clicker pen. It's really similar to like those really lightweight, super fluid concealers. Okay, so there we have the L'Oreal one. I'm loving the brightness. This one also has like a really nice, comfortable, lightweight formula. I just think it's beautiful in general. NARS on this side. I wear the shade Ginger in NARS, and Again, this is one of my absolute favorite concealers of all time. I would even say it's probably my favorite concealer. I've worn the NARS concealer for years. I always repurchase it. I think NARS is another one of those brands where they really have great shades for my undertone personally. This one's kind of wild. All right, this one's pretty wild. They look the same, which is so strange to me because the L'Oreal one is so much different in formulation than the NARS one. But I mean, especially looking at them side by side, they ended up looking like identical. Okay, so we have the Revolution Eye Bright. I got this one in the shade Caramel. It's supposed to be a dupe for the Charlotte Tilbury contour ones. You guys know how much I love the Charlotte Tilbury contour ones, so I'll be excited to see if this ends up being a dupe. I got the shade Caramel. So we'll do the Revolution side first. This tone, I can already tell you, I think is going to be a little too warm when you compare it to the Charlotte Tilbury one. So I'm gonna try to like dot it right here and blend it in with my sponge. I think this is technically a concealer. I feel like it has a lot of warmth to it, especially for being like a contour dupe. Although that's what not what like the product is technically made to be. It's a concealer, right? Yeah, it's a concealer. So technically this dupe is not, you know, intended to be a contour from Revolution. Okay, let's do a little bit of the Charlotte Tilbury and then we'll try to match the two sides. As you can see right when I lay it down, the Charlotte one is gonna be a little bit more cool toned, but we'll blend it out and then see what we're working with. The Charlotte one I think is actually a really great contour product. I love how natural this ends up looking. All right, I'm not gonna do any talking. I'm gonna go in and like really try to do some blend work between the two of these and really try to do my best to get them to match up as well as I can. So I'm gonna take a few minutes and just really work these in. Okay. I feel like it definitely took a little bit more finagling, but I will say, although the tone is different, the Charlotte one just looks a little bit more like a natural contour. I think if I could try this one specifically from Revolution in a different shade, there's another shade from Revolution called Deep Caramel, which I thought was gonna be a little bit too dark, but I almost feel like that might have been a better dupe for the Charlotte Tilbury one. However, I will give it to the Revolution one. It blends out really nice. Very similar to the one from Charlotte. It's just the tones are different, so it's hard to gauge exactly how similar they'd be, but I feel like by blending them both out equally and really kind of dispersing them all over the planes of the face, they look super similar. The Charlotte one's just like a little bit better of like a more flattering tone, I would say. So we're gonna be duping the Charlotte Tilbury Pink Gasm Wand, and this was duped by the Revolution Bright Light Highlighter. This is a product I actually really like, but this one specifically is in the shade Divine Dark Pink. So I really like this product. I have two other shades of it, but they're like more of the like champagne bronzy shades. I've never used the pink one. It has the same kind of like sponge tip applicator just like the Charlotte Tilbury ones. So we'll start with Charlotte. This is just a luminous glowy pink. I love how healthy and youthful these look. And I'm just gonna bounce that like right on the apple of the cheek a little bit more so you can see some more of the pinkness. But this isn't like an overtly super pink blush. It's more of like a natural luminous pink. Okay, and then we're gonna pop Divine Dark Pink on. This one looks a little bit darker, a little bit more fuchsia too. I don't know. I've talked to you about these before. They set down. They kind of like stay put. Try this a different way. I don't want to mess up the base. So I've like taken it and just put it on the back of my hand like that because I don't want this to go on. It's a little bit splotchy, but I think we can make it work and blend it out a bit. I don't know. I'm gonna stop here. I don't think it's working out. This one's causing a lot of lifting. I think if I keep trying to mess with it, it's just gonna cause a lot more lifting. So I don't wanna play around with it. I'm gonna try to fix that a bit. So I'm gonna give this a no because I just think that the Charlotte one's a really great blush product because you can apply it to the cheeks. You have some playtime before this sets down and you can really blend it into the skin, whereas with the Revolution ones, if you've seen me talk about them as highlighters, they stay put. So once they dry down, they kind of stay there and they don't have too much playtime. That's why I like using them as highlights, where I can just stamp them in one spot versus like a blush. There's a lot of padding that has to go on, and so it just kind of makes for a little bit more of a blotchy appearance. Next dupe we have is a setting powder. So the Charlotte Tilbury Airbrush Flawless Setting Powder was duped by the Maybelline Fit Me powder. So we'll do the Charlotte one first. I'm just gonna lightly tap this around the eye and the eyelids. This is a really beautiful blurring powder, and it does keep your makeup in place all day, but I really like the soft blurring effect that this has without like completely, you know, mattifying your skin and making you look too matte. Completely cleaned up that under eye and really gave it a nice amount of smoothness. So I'm gonna just turn the brush over and we'll do the Maybelline on the other side. This is another powder that I actually do really like. It's got a little bit more of a luminous finish. The Maybelline side looks good. I would say perhaps on the Charlotte side, just a little bit more noticeable smoothing under the eye. I think you can see that, especially like right here. The Charlotte one just gives almost like a more taut, firm appearance underneath the eye, versus on the Maybelline side, it just looks a little bit more noticeable that it's not quite as blurring underneath the eye. Okay, so this is a dupe actually that one of my subscribers sent in. This is the Charlotte Tilbury Dolce Vita quad, my favorite quad from Charlotte Tilbury ever. I've repurchased this one time because I've used one of these up entirely. I think that this is one of the best quads for brown eyes. It was duped by the Boudoir Charm from L'Oreal. So here they are side by side. I am so excited to try this. So I'm gonna use the same shadows on both eyes. I'm gonna start with this light shade and apply that on the lids, like right on the inner half of the eyelids. And then when I'm doing the other palette, I'll just switch the brush over to the other side. So we're gonna use that same creamy light shadow. Now let's do a little bit of that burgundy tone, because this is what really makes brown eyes pop. So we're gonna do the Charlotte Burgundy right all over the lid from about right here, and then I'm gonna pull it all the way to the outer corner and kind of blend that out a bit. And then we'll do the L'Oreal Maroon. I'm hoping, I mean, you can see it just instantaneously makes that brown eye pop. So now I'm gonna do the L'Oreal one. Wow, that actually looks so similar. I'm gonna blend these creases out just a touch. I'm kind of shook, as I can already see a difference in these, like these two right here, specifically these two look really similar. So I'm gonna show you those swatched. So this is Charlotte, this is L'Oreal. So Charlotte, L'Oreal. I do think that the bronze shades specifically are what are gonna look different. So we have L'Oreal and then Charlotte on this finger. Honestly, not that different. Charlotte's a touch more sparkly and it's a little bit more of a copper. This one's a little bit more of a bronze, but nothing too out of the ordinary. And I think if I apply them similar, I can get them to look really similar. So I'm gonna take the pop shade from Charlotte, which is this one. My favorite pop shade she has is the one in the Dolce Vita quad. And you just take your finger and run that all over the eyelid just to get that gorgeous like metallic glisten, and I pull that up into the crease a touch too. It's so good. The first time I had purchased this quad, I bought it specifically for that pop shade and then just fell in love with the way it made my eyes look. So I'm telling you, that one's so good. So now I'm gonna take the L'Oreal one. I'm gonna do the same thing. We're gonna pop it on and just kind of like tap and then pull it up into the crease. The Charlotte one has like more of a twinkling effect on the eye versus the L'Oreal one, because the Charlotte one has that glitter that just makes it a little bit extra special. And honestly, when you're looking at it straight on, it doesn't look that much different. I think the main difference would be that the Charlotte one looks a little bit prettier in like dim lighting or in direct sunlight. You'd really get that like burst of glitter. I'm gonna take this dark shade right here on an angled brush, and we're gonna use that to line the eyes. I'm gonna do the same with the one from L'Oreal. Okay, so the liner is definitely not as punchy as the Charlotte one. It's just not quite as deep and dark. So I'm gonna try wetting my brush and see if that makes a difference, because I think you can tell the Charlotte one's just a little bit more intense, so it works really well as a liner. I definitely think wetting the brush helps. I'm gonna do a couple finishing touches, so I'm gonna highlight the brow bone of the L'Oreal. I'm gonna do a little bit on the inner corner, and then I'm just gonna take like a little bit of the bronze mixed with the deep shade and the maroon. Just gonna mix these three, and I'm gonna use that to smudge under my lash line. And the same thing for L'Oreal, just gonna do a few finishing touches and smoke out that lower lash line. So I saw the Hourglass Ambient Lighting Powders were duped by the Essence Pure Nude Highlighter. The Hourglass one that I have, like the singular one that I have, is it's not gonna, I know that's not gonna work. So, but I do have the Hourglass face palettes. So I'm gonna use the Ambient Lighting Unlocked palette. And then I think that this middle shade specifically would be the one that would be the most similar. So I'm gonna take the Essence one, just kind of like buff this in a bit. This Essence one is in the shade Be My Highlight, number 10. Middle Hourglass one. So I'm just gonna put the Hourglass one like all around. I feel like the Hourglass one is a little bit more subtle and really creates like a unique diffusion of light on the skin, like really almost like filters it. But the Essence one is still similar. I think the Essence one has a little bit more of like a touch of a shimmery kind of like soft foil glaze effect. I'm having a little bit of trouble blending it out right there for some reason, but you can see it right there. And then on the Hourglass side, it's just a little bit more fused with all the other makeup to where it doesn't really look like a highlight. It's just a product that kind of catches the light depending on where your face is. Versus the Essence one, I feel like it does kind of look a little bit more like a highlight. One of my personal favorite mascaras, probably like top 2, top 3 status, the Benefit Bad Gal Bang, duped by the Maybelline Sky High mascara. So I have the Benefit Bad Gal Bang waterproof, and then I got the Sky High in waterproof as well. Okay, so we'll do Maybelline. I take way too long to put mascara on. I want it to look as good as possible, so I do it like very meticulously. I'm gonna put just a touch on the lower lashes as well. And then we're gonna do Bad Gal Bang. When I'm applying them, I feel like there's a difference in the way the formula applies. Just personal preference, I can tell that the Benefit one is like a little bit more creamy and a little bit more dry. And I tend to really like drier formula mascaras. Also do feel like the Benefit one is noticeably more black of a formula. And you can tell like my lashes are much more intense on that side. The Sky High is similar, but it's definitely not as intense as the Benefit Bad Gal Bang. And I did take my time and really try to build up the Sky High, but I think to give it a fair shot, let's put a little bit more of this Maybelline to see if we can really build it up. We have Maybelline on this eye, Benefit Bad Gal Bang on this eye. They're really similar. And we are doing a round 2, guys. We're going for another Charlotte Tilbury Pillow Talk dupe. I ended up picking up another shade. It's the same line, but a different color. So the Charlotte Tilbury Pillow Talk lip pencil. This is one of my favorite lip pencils ever. So the Charlotte Tilbury Pillow Talk was duped by NYX Peekaboo Neutral. One thing I do want to say is that the formula isn't going to be a dupe, so we're hoping that the shade is, because with the Charlotte Tilbury lip pencils, they're definitely geared towards longevity and they're some of the best, longest lasting lip pencils ever. But if the shade's right, then that's, you know, a dupe in terms of the shade, but it's just not going to be as long lasting. So, okay, Peekaboo Neutral. Okay, they're definitely similar, but for me, Peekaboo Neutral pulls a little bit more pink compared to Pillow Talk, and you can see it's just a little bit more pink. But I'm very excited to try this dupe. So we have Charlotte Tilbury Pillow Talk, duped by the L'Oreal Color Riche, oh, I'm sorry, yeah, the L'Oreal Color Riche Nude Intense in 173. Let's see how this goes. I have very high hopes. I think Pillow Talk is the color that everyone is trying to do. It really is one of the best pinks out there. 173 from L'Oreal. Okay, this is definitely a lot closer than the other one we tried last time. The other one we tried last time was definitely like a little bit more cool tone. It kind of looked lavender. This one is a little bit different. You can see the L'Oreal one is slightly lighter, but overall the vibe is super similar. So there's Pillow Talk, there's L'Oreal. You can tell the Pillow Talk is just slightly deeper, but this one's definitely the most similar, especially when you compare it to the one we tried last time. We have the Charlotte Tilbury Hollywood Flawless Filter and the Maybelline 4-in-1 Perfector. These are not dupes. In my opinion, they look nothing alike. The Charlotte Tilbury one just blows the Maybelline one out of the water. And to be quite honest with you, I did really like the Maybelline one when I first purchased it. There were like a couple months where I was absolutely loving this product. I feel like it doesn't look good on my skin, and I don't really like this product anymore. I just feel like I could have potentially been making myself like it when I first got it because everybody else loved this product, and I think I convinced myself that I loved it, but especially seeing it side by side with the Charlotte Tilbury one, I don't like this. I actually really do not like this product when I think about it. I don't want to use it ever. I never want to use it. Okay, and then we tried the Charlotte Tilbury, the Giorgio Armani Luminous Silk Foundation with the L'Oreal True Match Nude Hyaluronic Tinted Serum. I mean, not that I'm gonna say that these are dupes, because I think that the Giorgio Armani one has a little bit more customizable coverage, and I just prefer the Giorgio Armani Luminous one. At the same time, that's kind of not fair because this is a skin tint, the L'Oreal product, and I love this as a skin tint. So like when I think about skin tints, this is one of my favorite skin tint products in general, and I think it's a beautiful product. I just don't think comparing it to Luminous Silk is the right dupe in my opinion. I would say I would compare this to other products that have more of a serum-like consistency and try to find a high-end product that would kind of perform similar to this one. They ended up looking really similar on my face, especially side by side. I think they both look really great, and I like them both. So I actually, although I wouldn't say they're like the same product, it's kind of a weird one. I don't know, I'm rambling now. They're great. I just don't think that they're like super comparable products, especially just because this is a foundation. However, they both looked really good and ended up looking pretty similar. So I don't know how this ended up being a dupe. I really don't know how these looked so similar underneath the eyes. The NARS Radiant Creamy Concealer and then the L'Oreal Age Perfect Concealer. I don't know how these are so similar because the formulas are so different, but they looked so similar underneath the eyes and just performed so beautifully under the eyes. So these, I think they're dupes. So then we have the Charlotte Tilbury Hollywood Contour Wand and the Revolution Eye Bright. I'm going to say the shade Caramel specifically is not the same tone as the Charlotte Tilbury one. This one has a little bit more of like a milk chocolate undertone, whereas this one definitely had a lot more of like a terracotta warmth to the undertone. However, they did blend out nicely, and I think they did give a similar effect. It's just, I think the Charlotte Tilbury one performs better as a contour. However, this is a concealer, so it's like the tone's gonna be different because it's not necessarily intended to be contoured with, so it's not gonna have that like cool shadowy undertone to it like the Charlotte one does. However, I did think it looked really nice. I like the formula of this. I like the way it blended out, but I even think looking I like the way the Charlotte one looks a little bit better. Okay, then we tried the Pink Gasm from Charlotte Tilbury with the Divine Dark Pink from Makeup Revolution. I did not think that these were dupes. I think that the Charlotte one is a lot better. I think it just applied the way I wanted it to, and there's no lifting with the Charlotte one. You have enough time to blend the product out and really apply it perfectly before it starts setting down. So I love that about the Charlotte one, whereas with the Revolution ones, they set down rather quick, and I didn't like how it created some, you know, splotchiness in the cheek area. And I feel like in the area where I applied the blush specifically, like right in this area, my base right here is just a little wonky. I mean, it kind of made the highlight go on a little bit weird and all of that. So I think that this formula specifically works amazing as a highlight. I have some of these as highlights, and they set down on the high points of the face and they don't move around. And I think the quick set down of this product is definitely what attributed to the lifting and patchiness that it caused. The Charlotte Tilbury powder and the Maybelline Fit Me powder. Charlotte is considerably so much more blurring, and I think you could really tell under the eye. It just gave so much more of like a firm, really, you know, airbrushed and lifted effect under the eye. Now the Maybelline one is beautiful as well, but I think even looking side by side, you can see the Charlotte side is just slightly brightened and more lifted, and then on the Maybelline side, it just doesn't have that much of like a blurring effect. But this is a good powder nonetheless, but I do not think that they are dupes. Shocked? I'm gonna give this a dupe stamp of approval, because the only main difference is the pop shade. So the Charlotte shade just has a lot more of this kind of like flecky glitter you can see on the eyelid. I'm holding my eye down so you can really see it. And then on the L'Oreal side, it's just more of a soft shimmer. So if you're not really going for the flecky glitter, I think you would actually not be disappointed in the L'Oreal one. Now, if you really do want that Charlotte pop shade, I think it's worth it, because this is my favorite pop shade from all the Charlotte palettes and quads all together. I think this is the best one, and I do really love the Dolce Vita. It's my favorite quad from Charlotte. But if you're really not wanting to splurge on this eyeshadow palette, I really can't tell a difference. Like the highlight looks the same, that maroon shade, which is really the magical shade of the palette in making your eyes look more brown and beautiful. It's so similar. Like the L'Oreal one looks so similar to the Charlotte one. They just blend it out so nicely. I really think the only difference is the pop shade, and in the L'Oreal one, you still do get this really gorgeous copper tone that you can use to kind of add as like a glisten over the eye. And then we have Benefit Bad Gal Bang and Maybelline Sky High, both in the waterproof version. I don't notice all that much of a difference at all. I mean, I really built up the Maybelline one to try to match the intensity of Benefit Bad Gal Bang. I just don't like how on this side of my eye with Sky High, I'm noticing a little bit more of the lashes kind of gathering together at the tips and creating almost like a spiky effect on certain lashes. However, they're so similar that I would consider them dupes. Then we have the Hourglass Ambient Lighting and the Essence Pure Nude highlights. I personally prefer the Hourglass one. I think when you're looking at it straight on, it doesn't look like a highlight. It catches the light and it just creates a very unique diffusion of light and bounce back off of the skin. It's just stunning in my opinion. And then with the Essence one, I feel like it didn't blend out quite as nicely, and it just, I don't know, it looks a little bit more foiled. I'm kind of not into this like super foiled look right now. I like how with the Hourglass one, it's just a little bit more subtle. So again, if you're not as picky as I am, I think they could perform similar for you, but for me, they're not dupes. Okay, Charlotte Tilbury Pillow Talk, and then Peekaboo Neutral from NYX. Peekaboo Neutral is a lot more pink, but they're in the same genre. I could let it slide. It's a lot brighter pink. I think if you're not as picky as I am, it's gonna give you a similar effect, but Pillow Talk is more flattering in my opinion on me, but I'm trying not to be like too nitpicky. They're both really pretty pinks. I prefer the Charlotte Tilbury one. I am picky about lip liners, and I'm just very specific with the tones that I use. I don't think they're exact dupes, but they're similar, so I'll let it slide. Okay, and then we have the Charlotte Tilbury Pillow Talk lipstick, and then the L'Oreal Color Riche lipstick in 173. This is definitely the closest dupe I've tried so far. You can see Pillow Talk's just like the slightest bit darker. But I mean, overall, I don't think it's that big of a difference. And I think if you are really someone who does not care about Charlotte Tilbury or splurging on Charlotte Tilbury and you really want that Pillow Talk look, you can definitely get away with the L'Oreal one. And honestly, the reason I like doing these videos for you where I test out other people's dupes is so you can see them side by side. On one side of my face, you have the high-end side, the drugstore side. You really get to choose your preference. Like if you like something better, or you think that like the Essence highlight looks better than the Hourglass highlight, it's really up to you, and I just want to show you what they look like side by side so you can have better judgment based upon whether or not you want to splurge or save on certain products. I love testing out other people's dupes. I think it is so fun. I have lipstick on my teeth, but I think testing out dupes is so fun. So if you have any other dupes that you really want to see me test out, leave them in the comments down below. And I will see you in my next video. All of these will be linked and listed in the description box. And please don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Come follow me on Instagram and on TikTok. And I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye everyone.